Jen, it's so wonderful to see you.
I'm so happy to see you, Rasha. It's been a minute.
I know it has been. Congratulations. Season two, my goodness, what a wild ride. As fans, we have our own theories and our own takeaways, but for you, what did season two signify?
It signified, I think, like a marked shift in how the show was showing up in the zeitgeist. We all loved it when season one came out, and we had a devoted following that felt enthusiastic. But this definitely feels like the scope has broadened in a really exciting way. Definitely more conversations on the street and cousins I hadn't heard from in many years or in the inbox. So that's a different vibe from the first season. But we're just really proud of it. I think it's been exciting to finally get to follow up on these storylines that we had left people hanging on, for so many years due to all of the reasons. But it's a really exciting time.
Yes, 3 years, 3 years, too long.
Yeah.
Devon is just such a beloved character for me, especially. But how do you feel Devon has changed from season one to season two?
Hmm. It was really exciting for me to get to let her be angry. She,
Yeah.
her MO is to show up as a support system for the men in her life, for Rickon and for Mark. And I think most of season one, she's trying to keep her anxiety and suspicions of Lumen at a low simmer because she knows if she sort of enters the chat with her own rage or concern, it's going to spook Mark. He's already in such a precarious place and such a tenuous place that I think she's just wanting to not wake the sleeping dragon. But the second she learns what she does about Cobell's true identity and eventually about Gemma being alive, she's like, oh, fuck no. Like, I'm not, no more Mr. Nice Guy. And I think because of that, we got to peer a little bit more into her interior world this season, which was exciting, and get a little bit more of an understanding of her own personal motivation outside of her sibling relationship.
Yeah, I loved that. But I also love her sibling relationship. Like her and Mark have a very unique and very touching relationship.
Yeah.
So how do you feel that evolved for you and for the character in season two now that especially Mark is kind of, he's privy to his dual existence?
Yeah, it's more complicated. And I think it gave us a runway to play some more interesting dynamics as opposed to just the familiarity of a loved one, the fraternal friendship of a brother and sister. It was like, okay, well, what does it look like when the person you know so well and love so deeply also is doing something with which you don't agree, is also a part of something that terrifies you? It ratchets up the stakes in a way. I think that scene in, I think it's in episode two with Mark and Devon in the diner. It was nice to see them fight with each other because they both do have a personal stake in this. And I think the more Devon implies herself in the backstory, the more we come to understand her own personal relationship with Gemma, the more it makes sense to see her start to show up in ways that aren't just warm and supportive. They're also honest and frustrated and limited. She's not always doing the right thing. I mean, she can snap at Mark. She can sometimes, I think, not show up and be warm and supportive. So it was fun for us rather, to get to play with those dynamics.
I enjoyed watching that. It was really nice. I love just seeing more of her in this season as well too. But then with Rickens, right? We get into that. What are your thoughts with Rickens' character and his like how is your motive, I would say, impacted knowing what Rickens' position is, and how will that complicate your mission to help Mark out?
I think it's interesting because if the theme of the show is bifurcating your consciousness in order to survive, I actually think Devon has done her own version of that, which is keeping the version of herself she knows in her friend circle and relationship with her brother, and then keeping her relationship and her marriage, which is its own thing, separate. I think we show up in different relationships as different people. I certainly do. And I think with Rickon, she's found stability and camaraderie and a sort of stasis that she's been seeking after probably a wild time in her 20s and 30s, dating all sorts of people and living all sorts of experiences. I think when she met Rickon, she went, I know exactly who you are. You may be verbose, but you don't bullshit. And I like that. And you are going to be home. You're going to be home base for me. So when that home base starts to show up in ways she hadn't anticipated, i.e., working with Lumen, her shit starts to hit the fan a little bit. And I think that carefully curated dual life she's had doesn't really work anymore because now they're crashing together in ways she can't control.
And Jen, for you, were there any particular scenes that were either challenging or rewarding for you to film this season?
Oh gosh, both. I mean, I love working with every single one of the people on our show. Like my relationship with Adam is so rich and has to be. And I feel very lucky that we have developed a fondness and friendship in real life that informs the work. Same with Michael Chernus, who is a national treasure. Any day I get to improvise with Michael Chernus is like a kid in a candy store for me. Challenging wise, I will say there I had to sort of check myself and check in with our writers and showrunners and say, hey, I'm trying to calibrate what I'm doing tonally because Devon has become a part of the show that exists outside of the darkness of Lumen. So I know we expect her to be warm and grounded, but if in a moment where she herself isn't feeling warm and grounded, am I playing against story or am I doing the right thing for the character? Sometimes it was hard for me to see the forest from the trees. For example, I think Devon's a person that deflects with humor when she's scared. So if the scene itself feels ominous and heavy and laden and like you can hear the score in your head, that score underneath, if that's happening, it does it still work for the world of the show for Devon to deflect with humor and be sarcastic, or is it a focus pull? So I think trying to weigh who she is against what the tenor of the show was in that moment was an interesting challenge for me.
And do you get a lot of room to improvise then and play? I mean, especially working with Ben Stiller. How's that dynamic?
He's wonderful. All of our directors have been wonderful about that. I mean, of course, a certain point at which it becomes unprofessional to take it too far, and I think I've probably been guilty of that in the past. But because the language of the show is so rich already, because the writing is so beautiful, you never want to stray too far. But also in those more lived-in dynamics, like Mark and Devon, it's impossible not to because that's who they are. They joke with each other, and so we're definitely given this space to ad lib a bit. And it's always exciting when some of those make it into the cut and you watch it back and go, oh, yeah, I remember that moment. But all that's to say, the writing on our show is so pristine as it is that we don't have to do much.
Oh my gosh, it is so solid. I think I had to go back and watch every episode twice, just
Wow.
to really fully. Well, then we do the after show, right? So it's like you really had to pay attention to what was coming up, what was going on.
Yeah.
Some of the themes, and I think we've seen this from season one too, but we explored there's the themes of corporate control, there's free will, there's work-life balance. Do you feel that any of the recent world life events have influenced how you view the show's message at this time?
100%. I think it's been a really chilling example of art imitating life. I think, as someone who lives under capitalism, have been forged in the fires of an excellence obsessed culture, of a productivity obsessed culture. And I think that though I don't work in the corporate world myself, I have I have cultivated a work ethic and an approach to my career that is very much informed by American capitalism and American obsession with getting things done and doing it fast and big and loud. And so I think the more we see the veneer of our own country start to erode, and with the divisions we have currently in our country and world, I think the more prescient the message of the show feels.
Hmm. Now, that makes me also question too, would you ever consider getting severed? I mean, if there was a technology that existed, would you
You
consider being
know,
severed in real life?
there are times when I'm up at 6 a.m. with my 10-year-old stepson, getting him ready for school. And I think that that person would probably not want to be remembered by the person I am after coffee. So
Okay.
pre-noon and post-noon is a severance procedure I would invest in because let me tell you, I am a three-headed hydra before I've had two cappuccinos. Post, I'm a nice gal. But yeah, I would look into it.
Yeah. Well, now, I'm curious too, if Devin had to send a message to her brother's innie self, what do you think she'd say?
That makes me sad because I think, as we get to see it towards the end of this season, she does get to interact with him. And I think what she wants to say is, you are not the only you. Like the storyline about how selfish is one outie or any allowed to be with regards to the other version that their body inhabits, and that's sort of the big question at the end that Mark has to face. Which version of me deserves to live and have happiness? And I think for Devon, she obviously is like the you're outie, of course. But I do think it was special to be able to play her meeting him and getting to know him. He has a different personality. He's a different person.
Oh my
And
God.
so getting to play in those scenes and talk to him, Adam does such a beautiful job differentiating between the two. And Annie Mark does have this childlike quality who is more capable of wonder and being spooked. And so playing the same character I'm used to playing, but looking into the same two eyeballs of this man, but knowing it's a different person and having to adjust how I'm playing off of him was fun. So I think her message to Annie would be gentle,
Oh,
but enthusiastic.
but episode 10 was so intense. You're
Yeah.
right. And it was so much fun just watching him. And we all had our theories and who we're rooting for. Jen, there's been so many fan theories with this show. I just love the craze around the show and how people are so invested. Is there a fun, wild fan theory that you've heard that has kind of stuck with you?
I'll tell you the one that showed up the most on my own personal social media. I realized things had shifted a bit when on photos I was posting of like my own lunch, people were saying in the comments, "Rickon is a goat," and I was like, "Interesting." Photo of an omelet, but I have heard a lot of theories about who is or is not a goat, and the Rickon is a goat lore is strong. Is strong. It has reached me. It has reached my inbox. It has reached conversations I've had at parties, and that one is real fun.
Wait, so people are chatting with you about this at parties as well?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I think the fun thing about the show having captured a moment in culture the way it has is that people are often less interested in talking about my individual experience on the show. And they're like, yeah, yeah, yeah. You are a rep. You are an avatar for us. We just want to know what's the deal with the goats and which version of Mark is going to make it. And I'm like, I don't know. I really don't know.
I want to save all the goats. Okay, I have to wrap up here in just 2 minutes. Can you please tell me that we don't have to wait another 3 years for season three?
I'm happy to tell you that it was confirmed in the trades just yesterday that Stiller himself, the Lord of the Manor himself, has said it will not take 3 years, and I certainly don't think it will. I know everyone's keen to continue these stories as quickly and efficiently as possible, so we're hard at work getting that ready for you.
Okay, and that being said, what are you looking forward to in season three? Can you share anything?
I know nothing. I'm looking forward to finding out. I'm looking forward to finding out. I have no idea where it's going. They're very tight-lipped as they're writing. I really don't know what's going to happen, but I have my theories I'll keep to myself. But maybe when you and I speak in a year from now,
Okay.
let's see if they were true.
Okay. Well, hopefully it won't be too long. Jen, it's such a pleasure seeing you. You look beautiful, by the
You
way.
too, as usual. I love your
Aw,
bangs.
you're too, I was going for a new look.
I
I
love it. I
You
love
like
it.
it?
It's sassy,
Okay.
but it's still professional. It's framing the face. You look great in MDR.
I appreciate you. Thank you. Well, it's been such a pleasure again. And I'm
Likewise.
probably talking to you offline, but have a great
Can't
day.
wait.
Congrats again.
Bye,
Thanks,
Rasha.
Jen. Bye.